But first, allow me to offer up my opinions, both genuine and a little tongue-in-cheek, about some of those Australians honoured in today's Australia Day honours. Let's start with, of course, Dylan Alcott, the 2022 Australian of the Year. I sincerely think that there cannot be a single person in this country, probably for the first time in decades, who didn't hear the news that Dylan was this year's pick without heaving a huge sigh of relief and saying, yes, thank goodness, what an amazing choice. I've been a big fan of Dylan Alcott's for many years, and although, of course, I admire his sporting prowess and his extraordinary story in overcoming the most profound disabilities, the truth is that's not what I admire about Dylan. In fact, and this might sound weird, I don't really think of or see Dylan as disabled or disadvantaged. What I've only ever seen since he first popped up on our screens is an amazing, funny, irreverent, lovable Aussie larrikin. And in a way, that is Dylan's greatest achievement that makes him so worthy of this honour. You literally do not see the disability or the disadvantage, you just see the man. His huge heart, his massive personality, and his extraordinary joie de vivre. Dylan, to me, is the embodiment of the great, cheeky, twinkle in the eye Aussie who takes life on the chin and isn't afraid to poke fun at authority. Although I've never had the privilege of meeting him, I bet he'd be a great bloke to have a few beers with. But if I did have a beer with Dylan, I would say to him, please, mate, whatever happens, stay true to your larrikin spirit and do not go down the predictable path of woke virtue signalling and pandering to the left-wing grievance industry the way so many of your predecessors, including the most recent one, have done. The greatest thing you can be as Australian of the Year, Dylan, is not some strident political activist, some PC role model. Just be you. After all, the fact that Dylan has overcome such profound physical disadvantages with a grin and sheer grit and a joke and determination and a laugh is a real inspiration to us all, able-bodied or not able-bodied. And I have to say, it makes the hand-wringing whinging of so many woke activists bleating on about racial this or that or toxic privileges or this and that PC phobia look simply pathetic, in my opinion. Here's Dylan accepting his award.
I think standing ovations are one of the most ironic things in the world, by the way. But I'll take them, all right? Without a doubt.
Perfect. Speaking of beers, I was also delighted to see Maggie Beer get a gong. Anybody capable of inventing burnt fig and honeycomb ice cream is definitely worthy of the highest honour that this land has to offer as far as I'm concerned. And I was also thrilled to see Alan Finkel, our chief scientist, get an award. Finkel clearly deserves a gong, in my humble opinion, for pointing out what a complete and utter con modern science is. Apparently, empirical evidence, the cornerstone of the scientific method, is, so passé these days. Computer modelling and statistics, that's the go. Here's Alan Finkel explaining as much to Senator Malcolm Roberts.
Science is complex. Science, especially today now, the issues that we're tackling, many of which are decided through modelling and statistic approaches, it's not always simple to say, here is a definitive piece of evidence, one way or the other.
I'm not sure Galileo, Einstein, Newton or Aristotle would be desperately impressed by that answer. No scientific method of scepticism or challenging the orthodoxies of the day. Nope, we've got computer modelling and complex issues that can't be decided one way or the other. Wow, that's reassuring. But even better, if Alan Finkel does deserve a gong for services to science, in my humble opinion, it is for this exchange, also in the Australian Senate.
Now, in Australia, we emit less than 1.3% of the world's carbon emissions.
About that.
If we reduce the world's carbon emissions by 1.3%, what impact would that have on the changing climate of the world?
Virtually nothing.
Virtually nothing, although Alan Finkel has subsequently denied that that is what he really meant when asked in the Senate of Australia what impact Australia achieving net zero emissions will have on reducing global temperatures. He admitted, accurately and honestly, in my opinion, virtually none. Give the man a gong, I say. Well done. I was also thrilled to see Delta Goodrem in the list there. Delta definitely deserves her gong, especially for having to put up with sharing her brand name for the last 12 months with a deadly Chinese virus that did or didn't escape from a bowl of bat soup and still being sane at the end of it. But jokes aside, apart from her excellent musical talents, Delta Goodrem has been an amazing inspiration to so many individuals and the families of those individuals who have battled insidious blood cancers like leukemia and lymphoma and so on. A terrific Australian with a classic sunny Aussie disposition and a great sense of humour and bags of talent. Again, please, Delta, don't go all woke on us, please. And finally, of course, one name which leapt out among all the others, which someone who richly deserves the Order of Australia, is Gina Rinehart, the mining and farming magnate. Australia's wealthiest woman, Gina Rinehart is also one of our kindest and most humble women, and probably our greatest philanthropist. She gives to so many causes, without headlines, without fanfare. She does it quietly, gives to the causes which she's passionate about. Of course, life would have been easier for Gina Rinehart if she just sat back, but instead, over the last few decades, she has chosen to go full throttle in turning around a company that was in severe financial distress when she took it over, and she turned it into a leading world exporter, bringing immense benefits to this nation. It was Gina Rinehart who signed the historic deal with Rio Tinto to develop Hope Downs and get it off the ground. It was Gina Rinehart who, against mountains of red tape and hurdles, built Roy Hill, Australia's single largest iron ore mine. It was Gina Rinehart who developed Hancock's world-class agribusiness with its award-winning Kidman meat pies and the world's best Wagyu beef, 2GR. Supporting orphans and single mums in Cambodia, raising money to fight breast cancer, funding hospitals and the Royal Flying Doctor Service, and supporting veterans' family, the SAS Resources Fund. I could go on and on. Most recently, it was Gina Rinehart who we can thank for Australia's remarkable performance at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Gina Rinehart has been sponsoring the sport of swimming for over 2 decades, and she is the major supporter of Australia's Olympic swimming, rowing, volleyball and artistic swimming teams. Indeed, I am delighted to have 2 of our best swimmers here to discuss what Gina Rinehart's support has meant for them.